Hello, everyone. My name is Elise, and I'm titling this segment Fierce Friday. Never interviewed anyone. This is my very first interview, and I am grateful for this opportunity that Kim has given me to share her story with you all. So, Kim,
Yes.
do you remember how we met or when we first met? I was going back in time trying to figure it out. Do you remember?
Your daughter came, I think she was on her way coming home for the first time.
Correct.
She was
I was
still
going,
in Judy.
yeah, she was. I was going back over our messages and I actually met Jaelynn before I met you.
Yes.
I had gone to the medical daycare, the PPEC, to tour it and see if it was something that, we would want to do. And they wanted me to meet Jaelynn. And one of the administrators was like, you have to meet this baby's mom. She will help you through this journey. And you started giving me advice from the very first conversation that we ever had that was invaluable. So I am grateful to have met you, and I'm so glad to have you as the first person that I interview because your story is powerful, and I believe that God has blessed you to be a powerful woman and mother to help so many of us through this journey.
Oh, thank you. The honor is really mine. Anything I can do to keep these babies with their parents and keep the parents sane, because that's the hardest part, and guiding them through a very, very complicated world. So
Yeah.
it's truly my blessing to anybody who reaches out. I can help in the littlest ways.
Yes, and it's amazing how you make yourself available to us. So, with that being said, I want to get into your story. What was life like before Jaelynn? Before we get into Jaelynn, what was life like before? Because it's a big transition to have a child with this level of need. Tell us briefly about what were you doing? What did life look like? And then we can get into Jaelynn.
So I was a mom of a 24-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old and 13-year-old, just starting my business in June of 2018, and was just enjoying the good life of older kids, independent, soon going to college and moving out. And then unfortunately I was raped in October of 2018. Didn't even think about it or the possibility of being pregnant, but I ended up being pregnant, and it was very emotional, and had to go through the whole decision making, keep it, don't keep it. And I was contemplating adoption just because I just didn't want to do kids again. And then Jaelynn went into trouble at 30 weeks, and everything else just stopped, and it was just all about what was going on and what was going to help her survive. And I was bed rest in the hospital for 2 weeks. We still had no idea that there was anything wrong with Jaelynn. None of the ultrasounds, none of the blood work, nothing. There was some speculations that there might be like a cyst in her chest, but they weren't 100%. I had a lot of fluid, but I also had gestational diabetes, so they didn't know if that was from that or was it a genetic issue, or we just had no idea. We were completely in the dark with her. And when I had to have the emergency C-section, which was very traumatizing. It was not done like as you've seen on TV where the doctors are like, "You okay, mom? Everything's fine. This is what we're doing." No, nobody talks to you. I swear there were like 30 people in the room, and everything, they're just talking amongst themselves, and they're just worried about getting the baby out. And then when they took her out, I didn't hear her cry. And that was hard. And I'm like, she's not crying. And then I started to lose a lot of blood on the table. So the NICU team was with Jaelynn, and they were working with me, and nobody was talking. And I made my oldest daughter follow the baby to the NICU, and I said, "Don't leave her. Whatever you do, don't leave her." And then that's when they told me that she had a CDH, which is congenital diaphragmatic hernia. And yeah, so it went from easy street to chaos very quickly.
Yeah, and easy street is putting it quite lightly, right? Because the start of the whole thing, the fact that you experienced a rape, and I'm so sorry to hear that, you've shared that with me before. And it's always impactful to see how you were able to like deal with that trauma, still have to make the difficult decisions to continue the pregnancy, and then deal with the complications in the pregnancy. That is a lot to overcome. That is so much to overcome. And then Jaelynn arrives. Right? She arrives, she has the CDH, and then your daughter has to, follow the baby. And then what was the next steps like? Because I know how long Jaelynn was in the hospital, but share with us, like, what was that journey? What did you experience once Jaelynn was born?
Oh, it literally felt like if you were in a river, raging river, and always being pulled down, and you were fighting to the top just to catch a breath. It was literally chaos 24/7. I mean, I was still I was an inpatient for 30 days after she was born. And I was trying to run a business. I had the other kids at home. I mean, thank God my oldest was 24 at the time. So, she was getting the other ones to school and picking them up and, buying dinner. And, she had my credit card and everything was being paid for. But I never left Jaelynn. And she lived in the hospital for 10 months, her first 10 months. 2 hospitals. The first hospital was trying, but they did not understand her issues. And I live with guilt on that because when she was 8 days old, they had to transfer her to Joe DiMaggio for her CDH repair surgery. And I was selfish, very selfish, because I was a patient and I couldn't leave. I demanded for Jaelynn to be brought back to the hospital that she was born at so I can see her. And I, to this day, live with the guilt that I should have left her at Joe DiMaggio, and that we probably wouldn't be as critical today if I would have done that. And I know I can't prove it or whatever, and you can live on what ifs or whatever, and I know, and it's my guilt, and I try to deal with it the best I can. But I feel that because I had her brought back into a hospital that did not understand her complexity, and damage was done to her in their care, not purposely. So when she was 2 months old is when I finally figured it out, and by then she was so critical, and they had to life flight her to, her heart was septic, and they had to life flight her to Joe DiMaggio. So change was, that whole ordeal was stressful, and going now to a new hospital, new nurses, and the cardiac side, which was, it was such a fast pace. Like they just, and I get it, the heart, you only have one, and I guess they have to go. But it was just like, can we just breathe? Can we just slow down? It's like, and for 5 days, it was just like on fast forward. And then finally she was stable and her heart was okay. And then now we're moved on to the next side and of the ICU. And now it's just get her stable, go home. It was very hard. There wasn't a lot of parent involvement with kids like Jaelynn. And I'm not faulting the parents. A lot of it was the doctors and the staffs and they would tell you, oh, this life is so hard. It's going to change everything for you. You're not going to be able to live. You're not going to be able to go on vacations. You're not going to, you're going to lose your jobs, but we have a place for them, and you can go and live your life, and we'll and the baby will go into a nursing home. And they make it sound like it's the right decision. But to me, I was like, no, God gave me this child, and he knew what he was doing, and I'm not going to just walk away. And it bothered me because there was so many kids up there, and there was no parents because they believe the doctors, like, oh, okay. And I think it's a misjudgment. And so Jaelynn was paralyzed, medically paralyzed, and medically in a coma for the first 6 months of her life. So I didn't even have a baby. I had a vessel. So there was nothing to play with. There was nothing. She was 2 months old when I held her for the first time, and that was just over the bed. Like, I couldn't even sit down and hold her. And it was only for a few minutes that I could hold her. And then she was at 4 months old. They woke her up out of the coma, and they thought she was stable, and they extubated her. And I got to hold her for a week for the first time, for 7 days. And then she failed, and she had to be reintubated, reparalyzed. And then at almost 6 months old, they did it again. They took her, and I got less than 24 hours with her, and she was reintubated. And then that's when we knew she had to be tricked. So I had a lot of time on my hands because for 10 months, I slept in a chair next to her every single day. And I would get up in the morning, and I would take care of her, and I would go to work, and then I would come back from no work, and I would take care of Jaelynn, and I would stay with Jaelynn. I only saw my kids once a week. I would have dinner with them every Saturday. And other than that, I was there monitoring her medical treatments and plans, which was very chaotic, and communication. And before Jaelynn, the doctors just weren't used to a parent being involved, and they didn't know how to respond to that. And a lot of them responded with, puffing out their chest like silverback gorillas. And I was like, dude, I'm a lion. I'm the king of the jungle. Like, you really want to do this right now, because we're going to do this. And it was very hard, but I was glad that, and you see my hair, and I have tattoos, and I normally don't have a very good language. So I get judged, and these doctors are like, who are you? You're uneducated, you're ignorant, and you're whatever, and I'm a doctor. And I'm like, yeah, you might be a doctor, but I've been studying nothing but her every single day since she was born. You can't say that. And it took a while. It did. And having them tell me, sign a DNR, she'll never come home alive. If she does come home alive, she won't be able to sit up. She won't be able to walk, talk. And the top geneticists of the country came into my room and told me, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. She's a complete retard. What else do you want to know?
No way.
And I'm like, okay, my grandma told me to respect my elders, and thank you for your opinion, but you can leave my room. And so getting beat up every day with telling you that your child's going to die, you're wasting your time, go home, go sleep in a real bed, and then telling them, well, if she does live, she can't do this, she can't do that, she can't do that, she'll never do this, she's a retard, she's this. And I was just so tired of everybody telling me, and I just knew that God was with her and still to this day. If I doubted it before, I have no doubts whatsoever. I have seen the angels take care of her. I've seen God hold her in his hands and breathe life back into her when she should never have came back. I mean, the miracles around this child. So I went from all that for them to say, oh, she's going home. And I'm like, wait, what? And then I was petrified. Like the whole time I was fighting for her to come home and I wanted her to come home. And then they're like, she's coming home. Like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not ready. And I was like, there's so much to do. And I got to get the house ready and I got to do this and I got to do that. So like for 2 weeks, like literally we were ripping carpets out of the house. Is cleaning everything, moving all the furniture, dusting everything, having the AC serviced, I had a new AC unit put in, new duct working, everything, because, they told me she was going to be so immune compromised. And they're like, if you get her a cold, she could die. If she gets this, she could die. If you do this, she could die. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to like roll her in a bubble and like not let anybody breathe, I just had like a vision of like E.T. I don't know if anybody remembers E.T.
Yeah, no, and you're right.
That's with the tents and the tents and the bodysuits and I'm just like, how are we gonna do this? And so, one of the biggest challenges is that there's no instruction manual, and they don't tell you what will make your life safe and what will make your life easy once you come home. And that was a big challenge. And like, Joe DiMaggio is like, okay, so she's going to go home, or, the ambulance is going to come get her and take her to your house. I'm like, no, I'm driving my baby home. And they're like, no, that doesn't happen. And I was like, she has a doctor's appointment in the morning. Is you guys coming to my house to show me how to load her in the car safely? I said, if you put her on an ambulance and drive her to my house and drop her off and leave, I don't know what to do from there. I said, so we're all going downstairs to my van and you're going to show me how to load her in the car and what I need near her and how, and all this stuff. I said, to make it safe for me to drive. And they literally thought I was crazy, but they did. We all went down. There was like 10 of us and they showed me how to load her in the car and where I should have the oxygen tank and where I should have the ambu and where I should put this and where I should put that. Of course they said, 2 people driving, like 2 people in the car at all times. And that's not feasible. I'm a single mom. And my 24-year-old worked. My 2 youngest were in school, in middle school. And, so I knew I was going to have to ride alone. And I had another friend who has 2 trach kids. And I know that, I was like, listen, tell me, like, they're like, pulse ox goes in the front seat. You can read it the whole time, keep the vent near you to where you can, make connection if it breaks off or, silence alarm or read the vent. And so I had a little guidance. They didn't travel a lot with theirs, but I had a little guidance from them, which helped. But like nobody told me about the supplies and that you can change the list and get what you need and not what the government says you can have. And that's very important for just the safety of and health of your child. So I've heard so many horror stories of people having to reuse single-use medical equipment because they just didn't know. So it was a lot of trial and error, and I converted my van basically into an ambulance. And in the beginning, there was a lot of times I was pulling off on the side of the road off of 95 doing CPR. And then when I was done and had her back, and I remember sitting there and asking God, like, you got to help me. You got to give me strength. And I don't know what I'm doing.
And yet here you are. Here you are. Because hearing your story, people are probably wondering, like, how is Jaelynn doing now, right? Because a lot of times we hear this story, we hear all the medical complexities. And like you said, they prepare you to take an alien home based on description. Because when you hear it, It sounds intense, right? So what I would like you to do is just list what her diagnoses are, and then we're going to get into what can Jaelynn do, because Jaelynn is a force to be reckoned with. So what are her diagnoses? And then I'm going to show pictures, videos as you're talking, but what are Jaelynn's diagnoses?
First is prematurity, 32 weeks, trisomy 21, chronic lung disease, pulmonary hypertension, an open PDA, open PEFO still today, a torn left ventricle, GERDs, hydrocephalus, I
mean, that's enough. If you don't remember anything,
I know there's some other ones that are like technical, but they're kind of like on the bottom. But she's a trach. She's G-tube fed only. I mean, now we've crossed a lot of things off the list. I've gotten her better. She has grown. And the child, they said, would never sat up for the first time. And we came home February 3rd of 2020, and she sat up for the first time in March of 2021. The child, they said, would never stood for the first time in September of 2021.
I saw that video this morning when I was going through our communications and stuff. I saw you sent it to me, and I was cheering like, "Oh, Jaelynn!"
It wasn't like a perfect stand, but she stood, and
in her crib.
She stood up in her crib, and then in August of 2022, she learned to walk with her walker. And she only used her walker for 2 months, and then she pushed it away, and she runs and dances and talks. Not full sentences, but she's saying a lot of words.
That is so amazing.
And she's very intelligent.
She is.
And I actually had, I love proving people wrong and letting them know that they need to not put people in boxes. I made an appointment with that geneticist, his partner, not the guy who, but he's the boss, and then I made it with his partner. And the doctor literally called me almost a liar, like, this is not the same kid. And I said, yes, it is. And he said, but she's intelligent. I said, yes. And he's like, and she walks. And I said, she does. And she's strong. And she's fierce, and you're wrong. And I wanted you guys to see you were wrong. And I got an apology. I got a huge apology, and I hope that I change their outlook with the next parent they walk into the room and say, your child's retarded.
That is so powerful. That is so powerful. What you said about how they often place, people in boxes, they do that with us, right? Because they'll look at us and make judgments or assume certain things based on appearance or whatever. They'll look at a chart and assume the outcome based on their statistics and their knowledge and everything. But human beings are just that. Human beings, and every person is different and will have whatever capability that God allows them to have. And so I love how you said that, and that you did get to prove them wrong, because that's what this is all about, right? One story at a time. I want to share these stories, and the reality is not everyone has this story, right? There are some of us, right, that our children don't get to do some of the things that they said, or any of the things that they said. But that doesn't mean that there aren't miracles there. There aren't lessons to be had there, that there aren't stories to be told, and that those people still, and those children still deserve to be treated with respect and dignity and given a chance to see what they can do. So I appreciate you for saying that. And what I'd like to conclude with is, what would you say is your biggest lesson that you have learned through your journey with Jaelynn?
Just breathe. Just breathe. That literally, I saw a quote back when we first made it to the cardiac side, and it was a picture of a cup of coffee and like beautiful flowers, and it just said the two words, just breathe. God is there. And every time I felt like I couldn't make it, that I couldn't fight anymore, and I was just going to give up, and I would just say, just breathe. Just breathe. And that was the biggest thing ever. And it was so impactful that I had a tattoo designed in honor of Jaelynn and the quote, just breathe. And it's a Hindu symbol. I don't know if you can see it.
You can send me a picture of it too, and I'll post it.
And this symbol here means breathe. And when you put a lotus, which I put right on my trach, means control. So it's control breath. And because Jaelynn has the trach and it's a control breath, I got this in honor of her, that I'm with you. I have to have control breathing too. And we're actually going on November 14th to, they're going to remove the trach.
Oh my goodness. I was wondering when it was going to happen. I think she was on that path. That makes me.
So I don't want to get too excited.
I know.
But they're going to put her under, she's had a lot of trauma, and she has a lot of like anxiety and PTSD. She's had a lot of accidents that almost cost her life with the trach. So whenever you take the trach out, she panics. So they came up with this plan to put her under anesthesia, check it out one more time, and then they're just going to remove the trach, put a Band-Aid over it, and let her wake up without the trach. And they're hoping with the loopiness of the anesthesia that she won't notice that she doesn't have the trach,
right,
and won't go into a panic. And if it's successful, we will finally join the Naked Neck Club, is what they call it.
Yes, I know. Oh, how exciting, how exciting. I'm so happy for you. And I'm glad that you said that and shared that part of the journey too, because oftentimes at the beginning of the trach journey, it's really not presented for some people, or for a lot of us, as an option to be removed. It's presented as this lifelong hindrance of a situation, and you'll be connected to a machine, and et cetera, et cetera. And it was through talking to you and other moms that it was like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Your child can improve. And I remember there was one mom that was like, I have it on paper where they told me my child will be vent dependent forever. And look, my child that doesn't have, they're not on a vent. They still had the trach, but there are stages, there's opportunities for improvement. Our kids are gifts from God who have the ability to change and transform just like we do, right? And so I look forward to that journey, and for sure, I know you're going to share it because, I know you share, but then I can also upload that update also. That would be amazing for people to actually see what that looks like, right? I am so grateful for you. I'm wearing a shirt. I don't know if you can see it. It says grateful, because that's how I feel. I am really grateful to have met you and to have you as a friend. We have laughed. Like I say, when I say we laughed together, we cried together, we have. And I'm so grateful for you, for how open you've been with me about your personal experience, how you encouraged me and enabled me and gave me tips to navigate the hospital and understand, like, they can't tell you to do that. You have the opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I didn't know that. So I am just grateful because you have been a presence in my life that I needed and I didn't even know until God placed you there. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I look forward to getting the updates about Jaelynn's trach removal and all of that. And this has truly been a pleasure. And for my first interview, I think it was amazing.
Awesome. Thank you. And,
right.
Yes, I mean, I love being part of this journey and the family, I mean, my grandma always says that it takes a village to raise a child.
Yep.
And I believe it.
I believe it too. So thank you for allowing me to be part of your village and for accepting me into it and for helping me and being part of mine. Right?
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're
It's been
welcome.
awesome. All right.